Americans will know about Nicaragua because of, the Sandinistas, the Iran-Contra deal. But so in the 70s, Nicaragua was run by a dictator, Hermosa, and the civil war starts in the 70s, I think, if I remember. That was my notes. And so then the counter movement begins. The Iran-Contras, the Sandinistas start, and they overthrow Hermosa. I think maybe in the early 80s they overthrow Hermosa.
Somoza, the dictator.
Somoza, yeah.
Somoza, yeah.
And then 90s, Ortega, so the Sandinistas win. The war is over about 89. And Ortega, no one can figure this out, but he says, we've done it. Now let's have free elections. And I don't know what the Marxists were thinking, but that was a move. And so then they ended up being out of power for a long time. So free elections, and who knows what shenanigans were going on given politics and geopolitics. But anyways, the Marxists lose power. And so, but he runs for election numerous times, loses numerous times up until 2007, 8. 2008, he wins power. Finally, he gets power back. The Marxists get power back. So far, am I tracking? Is this somewhat accurate?
Yeah. You're close enough for,
I won't fail
for our purposes.
I won't fail the course. Okay. And so Ortega wins the presidency. And then, of course, he does what Marxists do. Well, they've been out of power for, a long time. So what do? They start shutting down all threats, all future threats. So I'm sure they went after the judicial, the press, the army, etc. They exile political opponents, they jail, they imprison, all the usual stuff. And that went on for about a decade. And they're doing this. And then you had mentioned a couple times 2018. So there's a lot of political unrest brewing. It's not like this is lost on the people, and people don't like living under Marxist terror regimes that are dictatorial for obvious reasons, and that's brewing.
Yeah, there was a massive uprising that happened in 2018 that I think the government feared would turn into an attempt to overthrow the government. So they dealt with it however they dealt with it, which, there's you can go look that up on the internet.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of news articles about it.
Yeah. I mean, they were the Marxists by nature vigilant. I would say they probably went hyper vigilant after that. And then, and they're playing all kinds of games, and you guys are doing great work with the hurricanes, and you're no political threat. So they're allowing things, they allow you to flourish. And the Catholics are always very vocal on human rights, which is where they're going to feel it. So
got them in trouble with them.
Yeah. So divide and conquer works. Hey, let's work with these evangelicals and, divide and conquer with the church people. And then the mass movement, the revival, I would call it, starts. And what you guys were doing, and you see the masses coming out. And again, I'm sure in the beginning, the government's happy because it's like it's a blow off, a steam blow off from all that political unrest. And maybe this will placate the people, because these guys preach peace, right? You're not interested in politics. You want love and peace. And they're like, okay. But then against all odds, from their point of view, this thing explodes. They had no idea what was going to happen. And they had no idea the hunger for the gospel.
I didn't know. I mean, other than God spoke to me and told me that he was getting ready to do something. But what does that mean? You just don't ever know. Like, I had no idea I was going to stand on the platform and look at multitudes.
A sea of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And looking back at your history, could you ever have imagined that you'd end up in this place? And it's just amazing, but it's the work of the Lord. It's the coolest thing.
Indeed. Only God can do what happened.
Yeah.
For sure.
So anyways, they go hyper vigilant. And then last year they really started going after people. They're throwing out the bishops and the priests, arresting people, and then going after the evangelicals. And then you became a criminal. And that's when you started your money laundering activities, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And my son and my daughter-in-law, and anybody that knows my daughter-in-law is like, oh my gosh, they've kind of published that we're organized crime bosses and money launderers,
Of course. There it is.
Of course, we've not seen the charging documents. So,
yeah.
And neither have any of the prisoners. And we were able to secure a lawyer, but she's not able to meet with them in private and hasn't had a verbal conversation with them at all. Video screen only and
Yeah.
that kind of thing, you know. And so once at a hearing, and you know, we don't know, we can't really verify their physical condition. And so we have great concerns.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of stories of you know, the Nicaraguan government torturing people when they imprison them and things like that. There's a long history that the news is full of that. The people in Nicaragua are full of stories. So we're super concerned, especially for the wife of our main leader. Her name's Maricela. She was his wife and our main administrator. She's in prison, and they have two small children, you know, under 3 years old. It's one of them's 4 months old. The other one is 2 years old, and you know, we just don't know the status. And those children are U.S. citizens, but the government, the police sees their documents, you know, so they're kind of stuck in Nicaragua with a grandmother, and I don't much like that. We're working to try to get them removed from the situation.
Yeah.
Because I think it's safe to say that the government intentionally did everything that they're doing. Including messing with the kids and taking their documents. And I'm really not very happy about that. And I'm not happy about the fact that the Nicaraguan law states that a mother who has a nursing age child has a legal right to not be separated from her child. And small children have a right to be with their mother, and they're not allowing that to happen because seemingly, you know, they are not. I mean, they've not been officially charged. They just have. None of us have, and we've just been. The reason we know is because our people are in prison, and our lawyers engaging with them, and they're releasing press releases citing a law and saying these people, you know, are money launderers and organized crime people.
Yeah, and I'm going to circle back to them, make sure we finish with that too. We want to lift those guys up, and just to help people understand, in the 2000, so this based on my research, in the 2000 after the 2018 uprising, you know, here's where, you know, their colors, they being the Marxist government, their colors really show, because I think here's what I found out: they killed about 300, they jailed thousands, tens of thousands fled. And then, most worrisome, tens of thousands disappeared. As you know, the Marxists are so good at this. Tens of thousands just disappeared. So if we have reason to worry, that's why we're doing this. And there's always a calculus in situations like this where you say, does it help or does it hurt to lift up the victims? And based on their track record, you know, we need to shout. And so again, let's list the main names again. Who were the victims?
Here are their names: Marcos Sergio Hernandez Giron, Harry Lenin Rios Bravo, Manuel de Jesus Rios Flores, José Luis Orozco Urrutia, Álvaro Daniel Escobar Caldera, Juan Carlos Chavarría Zapata, Juan Luis Moncada, Orben Alexis Moncada Castellano, César Facundo Burgalín Miranda, Walner Omier Blandón Ochoa, Maricela de Fátima Mejía Ruiz. And Walner and Maricela are the married couple. Walner is our main leader in Nicaragua and the one who led the logistics and coordination of all of the campaigns.
Yeah, you can see why they might be interested in him.
Yeah. And then our two imprisoned lawyers are Isabel Cristina Acevedo Solis and Mari Carmen Espinosa Segura.
Well, brother, oh my gosh, we don't know what the future holds, but I will just say again, you are on the side of history. This is a work of the Lord. You know, he will use evil for good. We're in a battle, so you can't not get shot. This is what happens in battles, and there's wars, but this is the battle, not the war. And I think we both know what's going on with the war and where things are heading. I just want to say how excited I am for you. I want you to hold your head high, in spite of all the turmoil. And by the way, this is a side note for everybody. They put a notice to Interpol for you and your family, and that Interpol thing is connected with the Central American Interpol. So without any real charges, without any proof, they put you on a no-go list for numerous countries in South America. Again, just political games and trying to shut you down.
Yeah, they didn't put out a red notice on us. They did what's called a red diffusion.
Red diffusion, okay.
Which is sort of outside the official mechanisms of Interpol. But
it's basically saying, pay attention to these people. They're interesting for harassment.
No, it was an immigration arrest or request, and then 6 countries have said, okay, if they come here, we'll arrest them and extradite them to Nicaragua for you.
And let's just lift up the countries. They're not the bad guys, but they just need to wake up and to understand who.
Yeah, they don't know. Like the Cuba, Venezuela, Ecuador,
Cuba, Venezuela, no. But anyways, go ahead.
Brazil, Honduras, and Mexico.
Yeah, so
that we know of. The question is, we don't have people in the DOJs of every Latin country, so we don't really know how many of them have actually said yes.
Well, and if by chance, if you're in the machine, anybody watching, if you're in the machinery of the governments of Mexico, or you have contacts, Mexico, Honduras, was it Guatemala too?
Not that we know of, but
okay. But anyways, we just need to get word out to the Justice Departments to say, hey, this is political, and
not legitimate.
Yeah. But anyway, so back to that. I just want to say I'm so encouraged by what's happened. I know it's been extremely stressful and probably often feels like defeat. It's not defeat. It's a badge of honor. It's because the Lord chose you to do so much. And I just want to say hats off to you. Amazing, amazing work. The Lord is not done. He's not done with you, and he's not obviously done with Nicaragua.
All glory to Jesus.
Amen, brother.
Our steps are ordered, and we're endeavoring to see those and walk in them, and that's it.
But that's a hard one, right? Because this one is like, we're walking, and all you can see is that little step in front of you. You're like, how could this be the plan? Okay, I guess
that's
it is.
Right. We get into big trouble when we walk our own steps, but by any way that you measure this is also big trouble. So walking in his footsteps that he has laid out for you also causes trouble sometimes.
Yes.
We're super grateful that the Lord allowed us to be a part of what we have last year and really all these years, but we also want our people out of prison,
Definitely. No, we're going to lift those names up. Send us pictures and names. We want to post all that, and we can do some different things with that too. So,
okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, my brother. God bless you.
You too.